This is Tasha Deshawn, and I am back with another video. So in this video, I will be giving you detailed steps on how to apply box braids. Now, this is not a full set of box braids. This is a longtime faithful client of mine that comes back and get her edges slash top redid at least a couple of times before taking out her box braids. So I just wrapped the braiding hair around her hair, and I'm transferring each piece of hair along with her hair back and forth in each finger. Now I am taking a piece of the braided hair out of the right side and then out of the left side to add it to her hair, and that is to make it a full piece so the braid can be even. I'm grabbing some braid gel or jam and I am applying it to her hair in order to make her hair blend in so it'll look very nice and neat. And I know that it's hard to tell in this clip, but I started out underhanding and I braided down at least 3 or 4 times, and then I immediately overlapped. So now I am braiding her hair all the way down. Now let me tell you guys about my client. She is so dear to me. She is a sweetheart. So when she first started coming to me, she started out using the color 1B30 on her whole entire head. Then she slowly started gravitating to the number 30, but she wasn't in no hurry at first. She would just talk about it while I was braiding her hair. Then she eventually started wanting me to add it at the top. I like to part and braid the front part of the hair, stacking the braids on top of each other before going to the next row. So I lay the braided hair on top of her hair, and then I pick her hair up with my left finger and then transfer it over to the right. And then I continue to do that for a couple of strokes. Now I am taking a comb and I'm trying to comb down her hair because it's a little tangled. Now I take a piece of the braided hair from one side and take a piece from the other side, just to create that third piece. And then now I start overhanding. Now remember, I was underhanding. Now I am overhanding. I'm just realizing the whole time I'm steady saying overhand braiding, y'all. Now while I am overhand braiding, I am not forgetting to tight stitch. And tight stitching keeps the braids from being loose. And loose braids is just not my cup of tea. So on each braid, I like to apply a little jam, not a whole lot, because my fingers are too small and it makes it hard for me to wrap the braid around. So again, I place the braided hair on top of hers. I'll lift her hair up to wrap the braided hair around. Now, leaving the middle piece out, I take her hair and I overlap it, and then I transport it over to the right. So now my right hand has her hair and one piece of the braided hair in that hand. And look at the middle finger, how it's still in that loop. Now I flip it over again and I continue to transport her hair over from the right to the left, just until I'm ready to make a third piece. And I'm continuing to show you all my middle finger on each hand, just to show you how I'm transporting it over from the left to the right. And I forgot to mention that that middle piece also separates both sides of the braiding hair. Now you see me taking one piece of the braided hair from one side. There go that middle finger again. And I'm taking another piece of braided hair, middle finger again. But I'm taking another piece from the other braiding hair to turn her hair into that third piece. So you see how I try to make it as even as possible. And I'm showing you from one side of the braided hair to the other side versus the middle piece that I just created with her hair. So now I under braid just a little bit more. Now I'm trying to add a little jam just to make it a little bit more smoother for me, because sometimes you can't get each side to be perfectly even. So like I said, I'm underhanding about 3, most likely 3 times. And now this is where I'm about to overhand. Now I've swapped the middle finger from being the key focus to the pointed finger. So I take the braided hair and now I am flipping it over my pointed finger on each side. And that is how I overhand braid. Now, this is where you get to tight stitch as well. So that pointed finger is very important, because I am taking the braided hair and I am flipping it over my pointed finger to where I am overlapping it. And I am making sure that I am hiding her hair because it is pretty long. And don't forget that when the hair is long, be sure to add jam to that client's hair in order to keep them from having so many flyaways. And right here at the end of the braiding hair sometimes tends to become uneven, so I just take a piece from another part that is thick and then I continue to overhandingly braid down. Now I know I just made that up, but it's all right. I try not to add a lot of hair on the edges because they are the weakest part of the head and you really can't tell the difference. But I am wrapping that hair around her hair again, and I am transporting it from the left hand over to the right, and I continue to do that while underhand braiding until I am ready to make her hair out of the third piece. So again, I am pinching a piece from one piece of the braided hair, and then I overlap it and I pinch another piece from the other side of the braiding hair. And remember that you can try to make it as even as possible, but it won't be 100% perfect. But if it still appears to be a little thinner, then just grab another piece. So here's where I start overhand braiding. And as you can see that her hair is a total different color, so I am making sure that I am tight stitching to the best of my ability, child. If you notice in a few of the clips like this one, I am adjusting the braid at the very tip of her head. And I only do that around the edges because it either be twisting while I'm twisting or flipping while I'm flipping. But it usually happens with people with fine hair, and Miss Chris does have fine hair. So I'm gonna stop talking for a minute and let y'all just listen to this elevator music, and then I'll come back in a little bit. right here in the back is where I part her parts straight across. And I also make sure that her parts are closer together so we can hide those old braids, child. It's less than a handful of my clients that likes their parting straight to the back. Miss Chris is one of them. And although it takes me a little bit longer to braid in this direction, I don't mind doing it for the very few that ask for it. But if you go back to a few of my previous braid videos, you all will know that I am a part girl, or should I say lady. But I just love my little curved signature part that I put on majority of my clients' hair because it is very versatile. You can switch it from the left to the right, to the front, to the back. Hey, now let me stop. But seriously, you don't have to be stuck with wearing it on one side. Now, I know a lot of people do the middle part, and I'm not so much against it, but at the same time, I don't do middle parts that much. Now, when I'm doing knotless braids, I try to go by the rules if there are rules. But I've been parting that way for years, and you know the saying, if it ain't broke, then don't fix it. Now I did all this talking and forgot to tell y'all that whenever I am redoing box braids, I take down the first 2 rows in the front, and then I take down 5 or 6 rows at the top. And every now and then I add a 3rd row, but I don't do it unless I really have to. No matter if I'm redoing edges or if I am doing a whole set of braids, I make sure that I re-dip that person's whole entire braids. Quick question, do any of you dip the hair without using towels? Well, me, I have to use towels, if you notice. And I recently just graduated from wrapping 4 or 5 around my client's neck to just only wrapping 1. She wanted to be in my video so bad. So here's the finishing result. New growth where? Where is it? Where? If you can afford to get your braids redone at the top or the sides in order to make the style last longer, then it is good to do that. But be sure to do it with braids that are not heavy. Remember that you are trying to grow it and not lose it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.